Welcome back to Hardstuck Gold. Today we are having a relatively short TSM special because once again TSM managed to defy expectations and find another way into the headlines. Truly impressive work from the marketing team over at TSM, constantly getting free advertising with their name all over. Good job, guys. So we got to talk about this TSM drama because frankly it's kind of insane. Now, I want to start off by, even while saying that, I don't think this is as big as a deal as a lot of people want to make it out to be. First of all, Spring Split doesn't matter. This team was never going to win the LCS Spring Split. They never stood a chance to win it all, frankly. And, you know, who cares? This split isn't going to matter. Maybe you make playoffs? Good job? Like, it doesn't matter, like, at all what happens in the spring split. So people want to act like this is, like, the end of TSM. It's really not, guys. They're 0-4. It's 2 weeks in. Like, let's calm down a bit. But if they lose both games next week, they go 0-6, guys. So 0-6 memes, I know I'm ready. I hope Rob's ready because God knows the 0-6 memes are going to get busted out if they lose. So it's going to be really funny. So yeah, this isn't the end of TSM. I don't even think their year is even necessarily a failure yet. Like a lot of people would want to paint it out to be. So let's talk about this. And I'm going to start this off with a question. Is 1 out of 2 bad? And I think in a lot of cases, yes, right? I mean, if I'm taking a test, 1 out of 2 is 50%, and that's not good, right? Right? But like, in terms of player development, 1 out of 2 is pretty good, actually. Look at like Golden Guardians last year, right? Like, the only thing that they got out of that developmental roster is a Blaze Olive. And I think they're pretty happy. And I guess I got Licorice at the end of the year, but that wasn't a developmental piece, so it doesn't really matter. But, like, I think they're pretty happy with that. Like, it worked out. Like, got an amazing mid laner, right? So in terms of player development, 1 out of 2 is actually pretty solid. And so assuming Kaiduo ends up working out, which it seems like he, you know, for the team and his play as a whole has actually been pretty good. I think Kaiduo has been a very pleasant surprise to me. Because when you look at the beginning of this year, right? Kaiduo was the question mark. Shenyi was the more guarantee. Because he did really good on FPX when he played. But Kaiduo, like, Jesus, people had to, like, dig for VODs of this guy. No one knew anything about this guy. He was the substitute mid laner on TT Academy, which is just embarrassing. Like, I don't even know how they found this guy. It's like they went into a bargain bin and they pulled him out. But he ends up, like, he's performing pretty decent. And he culturally fits really well with the team. He seems like really out there, eccentric, communicative. Like, it's exactly what you would want in like a player coming over. So I don't think Kaiduo is a flop yet. So can we stop this narrative of this entire TSM year is like absolutely garbage right out of the way? I know it's fun to meme on them for being 0-4. I'm all in for the memes. I'm all in for making fun of them. It's great. Let's have the digs. But also, if we're going to be talking about this in a non-satirical sense, let's be a little bit more intellectually honest. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with when talking about this. So I'm just throwing that out there. Because memes are cool, but let's be honest, all right? Let me mark that off what I wanted to talk about because I think that was something that I really wanted to get out there. Also, I want to talk about Shenyi wanting to be here before we really go into a lot of the stuff. Shenyi was a pretty damn good sub on FPX. He showed that he was pretty damn good. I'd be very surprised if he did not have substitute offers for the LPL, if not a starting offer for the LPL, or at the very least an LDL spot for him. I'd be incredibly shocked if that was the case. But yet he chose to come to NA. And I think that's interesting, right? I think it's actually kind of shocking. Because like, on paper, you're probably like, well, Shenyi should have probably wanted to stay in the LPL. It's true, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to? I mean, if he had like a spot there, good. But he could also come to NA and get a major region starting spot, right? Versus probably not an LPL starting spot. Though it is possible, just because the LPL is such dog water supports generally. It's really where they struggle the most is in the support role. Usually there's only like 4 or 5 like pretty good supports, and then after that it's just like falls off really hard. So Shenyi easily, in my opinion, could have made it there. But it's interesting, right? So it all depends on where you get offers from and all that. So I think he wanted to come here, but I don't think he was aware of what coming to NA was actually like. And I think a lot of that comes down to communication. Like the fact that on stream he is shocked about, like, not shocked, but he's talking about like, oh, like these guys aren't like practicing enough. They're not doing all of this. Like, I think that's on TSM. Like, why was this not something told? Like, bro, you're not going to be practicing as much as you would in the LDL and NA. Like, no crap. Like, the LPL's, like, grinding culture for League of Legends is actually unmatched, maybe only by Korea. It is insane the amount of hours that these players play the game. It is, like, the only thing they care about. They genuinely have no social life. Like, the touch grass meme actually applies to the LPL. It's crazy. So this is something that should have been an expectation coming to NA. You have to be aware of that. And if not, that's on TSM. They have to communicate that. That the onus is on them. Because this guy from China might not be as aware as we are about that, right? So that has to be communicated. Another thing is, like, did he expect to be the shot caller? Because if so, did TSM not, like, communicate that? Because I'm sorry, but having someone that is not their primary language and does not speak English very well be a shot caller on a team is probably very difficult, especially after only a couple weeks of being together. Actually, I'd go as far as say it would be idiotic to do it unless it's like a very simple form of shot calling. Also, TSM comms are notoriously messy. Like, TSM last year had really bad comms. It was one of the number one things that fans keep pointing out about that team. So I don't frankly, I don't want Shenyi as my shot caller, at least not at first. So was this not communicated? So I think a lot of this kind of does come down to TSM in a sense, because like that has to be there. You have to be honest with the player coming over like this, or it's going to lead to drama like this. How many import flops have we seen? Which is why the amount of imports, by the way, from China and the LCK has actually declined over last year. There was literally none, with the exception of Sword Art, who was from LPL, but there was no Korean imports last year. And I'm trying to think the year before, was there? In 2020, was there? Unless I'm forgetting someone, I don't think there was. I'd have to look at the rosters again, but I don't even think in 2020 there was a Korean import. So it's interesting that teams pulled away from that, seemingly for these reasons, because players would stay for a year or they wouldn't really perform well, and then they just go back, right? Which is why we've had like the same like Korean like couple players stay here for so long, right? I think that's an interesting discussion, because these seem to be the players that, you know, speak English really well. They want to like actually be here because they enjoy it. They enjoy playing in the LCS. They enjoy, you know, LA. They enjoy all this stuff, right? It makes sense. So I think that's something else that people should be talking about that I don't really see talked about at all. And before we get into more drama, the solution to this is really obvious. It's ignore. And that's what I'll say for now, and we'll get back to that. So now we can finally start talking about the drama with all this background out of the way, because I think it's important. So Shenyi is moving down to Academy, and Yursan is going to be starting in the LCS. Now, first of all, Yursan's actually a decent support. I wouldn't call him great. I think he's fine. Would he be someone who I want in the LCS? No. But is he an all right call-up? Yeah, I guess. I mean, he played in lock-in, but TSM Academy right now is an absolute mess. And Shenyi coming is probably not going to fix that. So TSM Academy is actually doomed. They are so bad. But who knows? Maybe they'll give him like a shot calling role and see what happens, because why not? Like, I think they're like, oh God, last time I saw, I'm going to check this real quick because it's actually embarrassing. Their score. It's very important. I got to make fun of them. Yeah, they're 5-15. Yikes is all I can say about that, right? Not very good, in other words. So, I mean, like that's bad. But Shenyi going there is not going to fix that. But Yoshan coming up, it makes sense. He's probably going to do an all right job, but not amazing. So that's like the main news. But also, a coach was apparently fired, according to Travis Gafford. Uh, and I think that's a lot more concerning, which also makes me think that there was probably some incompetence on TSM when communicating expectations to Shenyi. Because if this was one of the coaches, which as of now at least, I have not seen any public information on that. And if this person is like, there, people know who it is, at least it hasn't been said publicly that I've seen. Um, but yeah, if a coach is gone, I wonder if that's the person who was, voicing expectations to Shenyi. Like, I genuinely do, because to me that makes sense, because that seems like pure and utter incompetence. So yeah, if I want to wait for more details on that to say whether it's a good or bad thing, because if someone I don't want people to get fired. I never want people to lose their jobs. That's always something I think I've done a pretty good job of voicing on Hardstuck Gold. I think I've said a couple times that I really don't want to dunk on people for losing their job. But if it is a case where this is truly what happened, then yeah, you know what, I'm kind of happy. But at the same time, this is someone losing their income. This is someone losing probably a dream job. So you got to have some poise when talking about this stuff, right? So I think that's important too. So yeah, that's the main drama. But to me, the solution to this is Ignar, because Yursan is not a long-term solution. He's not even what I would even consider a solution. He's a band-aid, right? You get a cut, you put a band-aid on, right? Maybe you put some disinfectant first. It doesn't heal the cut. It just allows it to heal a little bit quicker by like preventing it from, reopening, right? So that to me is what Yursan is here. He is going to probably play this week. He might do all right. They might win versus Immortals. If not, 0-6. It's going to be, like I said, it's funny. But they're not going to beat Cloud9 with this roster. I'm sorry, they're not, unless C9 trolls, which is possible. They haven't had a really awful game yet. So awful games happen. And, TSM could just be the lucky recipient of it. Also, I think it is something I want to talk about. If they do win, though, if they win a game with Yursan and the bot lane looks better, is it something that TSM would be willing to consider? To me, no. I don't think that's the answer. Regardless, unless Yursan is showing something that, like, really is gelling well with the team, which is possible. I will acknowledge the possibility. I don't think it's the answer, even if he does perform well this week. So yeah, just sign Ignar, though. Ignar was a top 2 support in summer and a top 5 support in spring. Also, he had a new ADC, so he looked a lot better in the summer. But he made Danny look really damn good in those late game team fights with nutty engages. He is exactly what TSM should want, because they've been putting Shenyi on really weird picks. They haven't been putting him on support champs, like engaged champs, which they really should, because that's half the meta. It's just like these engaged champs plus like a Lulu or maybe a Yumi thrown in there, right? Just get Ignar. He's the king of like Nautilus and Leona. That seems to be the meta. So just literally grab him. I don't understand how this man did not get a job in this offseason. Well, actually, I think he was technically still with EG for another year, and EG probably wanted to sell him, which is why back in January, I think, we saw something with Ignar where it's like, oh, I'm not now a free agent. So I think EG wanted to sell him, which is probably why he didn't get an offer, which is a bit sad because Ignar's so good. He was so good for EG last year. And I actually kind of feel bad that he got replaced, because I think he did a good job, but it was just like an unfortunate opportunity of someone that like just slightly better came up, or someone who is potentially slightly better came up, and we'd kind of be stupid not to take it, especially because he's not an import. And I think that's kind of what happened there, which is a bit sad. Again, sad for Ignar. Sucks for him, but that's how it goes sometimes. So yeah, sign Ignar. He's great. He's an amazing player. He is exactly what you should want. He communicates a lot, very effective. Also an incredibly nice guy. One of the nicest people I've ever talked to when doing interviews. Super cool. So yeah, I keep saying it. I'm going to say it again. Sign Ignar, sign Ignar, sign Ignar. It's a solution. He is the answer. He is the all-knowing. Yeah, so that's the TSM special. Overall, I think this situation is just embarrassing for TSM. Frankly, I think it just shows what a lot of people's worries were with this org. This offseason has just been filled with drama, from the Sword Art drama, uh, to the Reggie drama, to now this drama, to the Double If drama. Like, it just doesn't end. It's a constant storm. Uh, and I just, someone needs to be hired for TSM, LCS, just to be like a PR person for this. And I know PR people for TSM exist, but there needs to be someone whose sole job it is right now to reassure the LCS fans. Because if I'm a TSM LCS fan right now, I'm worried. The owner is getting investigated by Riot Games. You had to bench your superstar import after 2 weeks. All the players that left seem to be happier. I mean, there was the Kobe drama, like all this stuff. I'd be worried if I wasn't already. And I'd just be like, why am I supporting this team? So TSM needs to reassert why fans should support this team. It's really that simple, because, like, why? I'm sorry, but if TSM's culture is winning, they're not doing that. What else is TSM? What is their brand besides winning? 0-6? Is that their brand? No, right now TSM's brand is the laughing stock of the League of Legends universe. That is their brand. You don't have a brand right now. So you need something to communicate the fans to be like, this is what we were. It was the Mandarin meme, but now this seems to be gone, right? That was their identity going in, and now that identity is shattered. So that was their chance to get away from that, and now, hey, look, you're back to square one. Good job, guys. You need someone to reassert this. And I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it can be at this point. Because I don't think TSM right now is a very enticing brand. I think they are a good org, like generally a decent org, right? But I don't know. I'd be very concerned. I think that's all I got for the TSM special. I'm curious to hear people's thoughts. I hope I wasn't too harsh, and I hope I kind of showed some fair perspectives on this. Like, one thing I want to do with the show is, like, I'm the type of person that likes to think a lot of, like, alternative perspectives on stuff as, like, possible, or, like, something that I can at least understand, even if I don't agree. And I think I've voiced that a fair couple times, because if it was just, like, my opinion and not, like, regarding others' perspectives, I'd be like, yeah, this is, like, actually embarrassing for TSM, and I would just never want to work with this org, like, and stuff like that. Like, and I think that's just not productive, though. I think you have to be like, well, why did they do this? Why did this happen? And what is the solution? And I hope I presented all of that in a fair way. Curious to hear people's thoughts on this. I'm sure Rob's Talking TSM episode talks about a lot of the same things. So TSM fans, hello. Nice seeing you. But yeah, that's all I got, and I'll see you. Bye-bye.